All right, everybody, Jimmy here with one of our instructors, Justin, who is our arguably most mysterious instructor, but we managed to grab him and snag him on camera here to talk about today sight alignment. So once again, we're continuing on with our series here around pistols, and we're going to also show you guys a little drill. And really, I guess maybe we can call it a drill, but it's also just a bit of discovery for you in learning what you can sort of get away with in terms of your sight alignment on your pistol. Now, Justin, everybody's always talking about the sights and worrying about getting them just right when they're aiming their pistol at the target downrange. I think one of the things that we've talked a lot about here is avoiding over-confirming your sights, over-aiming, and why is that? How is it that people are doing it a lot, and why is it that apparently you can get away with a little more than you think?
Absolutely, kind of like you said, how good is good enough? Now, this sight alignment drill that we're going to do, it's going to be based on a lot of different things. Well, one, size of the target, two, proximity to the target. So closer in, shooting a little bit faster. Again, you can get away with that imperfect sight picture, if you will. So perfect would be the enemy of good enough.
Okay, got it. So in this case, we're going to be talking about, it applies to dots, red dots on a pistol, as well as your iron sights. And I think one of the things that a lot of people see a lot of times, let's just talk about red dots right off the bat. A lot of people want to get that red dot perfectly in the center of their red dots window, and then they're also really caught up in the fact that oftentimes, being that we're hand holding a pistol, it's unsupported out in front of our body, we get a lot of dance in it, sort of, or it might be shaking slightly based on our hands' motion just in the air. That's something that people need to overcome a little bit and not get so caught up in.
Absolutely. With that sight alignment and that sight picture you're kind of talking about, I would rather have individuals have a better trigger control and grip than sight alignment. And kind of what we're talking about for this specific drill would be relating to the red dot in particular. So if you guys can imagine that this is your sight window, the tip of the pen would be the dot. For this drill, what we're going to do is we're going to take 8 shots, and we're actually going to kind of see what happens for shot group analysis. So again, the tip of the pen is my red dot. So we're going to place our dot in the bottom of our window, the sides of our window, and the top of the window, instead of, again, having that dot perfectly centered in the window like Jimmy was talking about. And again, what we're looking for is how good is good enough and what we can get away with. Again, it's going to be dictated by proximity to the target and size of the target. So
one of the nice things about red dots, of course, is that they are, for all intents and purposes, parallax free. So if your dot is in the lower or one of the extreme sides of the red dot, actually wherever that dot is pointed is still where your barrel is pointed in terms of where you're sighted in. Now, this also, I know I've seen in some of the classes you guys have done, it does pertain to iron sights. The one thing with iron sights is that they do have more potential for parallax error if they are a little bit off. But even still, if that front sight isn't perfectly in the notch of the rear sights.
Absolutely.
This is another thing that you'll do. It's not that they're excluded from this little drill that we have here. You can even go ahead and from, we're on the 7-yard line here, purposely not align your front sight just right and go ahead and take a shot. And again, it's just kind of sort of seeing what you can get away with, right?
Yep, so again, kind of like Jimmy was talking about, again, my 2 fingers are going to represent my rear sight. Again, the pen's going to represent my front sight. So again, instead of having equal height, equal light, same thing kind of applies, kind of burying that front sight post to the sides or up and down inside that sight picture.
We've got what kind of target is this, Justin?
So we've got an IPSC target set up right now, again, at 7 yards. We're going to be aiming for that A zone. And again, we're just going to be kind of burying that dot, in this case, in the bottom, top, and the 2 sides. So we're going to be taking 8 shots total.
Right on. All right, so Justin's going to do this thing. You're going to have to, unless we could get a camera inside Justin's eye, you won't be able to see exactly what he's seeing. But again, just kind of, we'll take his word for it that he is indeed bearing that red dot down in the more extreme sides of his red dot window, and you'll see what happens on paper downrange. And this is something you can go ahead and try for yourself. And like we said before, too, the nice thing is you're not going to have to waste a ton of ammo to learn a lot about how your pistol and your sight function together. So, Justin, you ready?
Absolutely.
All right, let's do it.
All right, guys, we're going to be starting to shoot some rounds downrange now. Again, just to kind of reiterate, the red dot is going to be in the center of that A zone. The only thing that's going to change is I'm going to bury that red dot to the side or the bottom and top of my window. So again, just so you guys understand, that dot will still be in the center of that target. I'm going to take 2 control measure shots first, and then my 8 follow-on shots. All right, guys, so those are my first 2 control measure shots. From there, I'm going to take another 8 shots, top, right, bottom, and then left.
All right, now off camera, Justin was kicking himself here because he said that this group could certainly be a bit better. But hey, we weren't really shooting for groups here. We were shooting as a demonstration for the practical side of sight alignment. So again, with that red dot, I think, Justin, you said right there after you were done shooting that you went with the red dot at the top of the window, the right side of the window, bottom, and then left. And again,
Absolutely.
Like you said, it's kind of complicated to explain, but you'll actually get it once you see it with your own sight, where we're still trying to put the red dot in terms of how we're aiming it on the center of the target. It's just that by angling our arms or our wrists slightly differently, the red dot will appear to float in a different side within the window, and that's just, again, part of that parallax-free nature of the sight. Again, like we said, you can do this with your iron sights as well. And ideally, what you're going to see is just that you can get away with a fair amount of an imperfect sight picture and still remain within this A zone. And Justin, why is it so important that people understand that they can get away with that imperfect sight picture? Is it just that it's helping them save time, or is it efficiency? Or
A little bit of all of the above, right? So again, if we want to increase the pace in which we're shooting, increase our splits and things like that, shoot a little bit faster, shoot a little bit sooner. Like you said earlier, perfect's the enemy of good enough. How good is good enough to actually get away with it? So you can actually tell by this shot group. You really can't tell what shot groups were when I actually place a dot top, bottom, right, or left. That being said, you can have a little bit too much time with sight confirmation. You kind of bring your pistol up, you're aiming, and then it breaks. To try and get that dot perfectly centered. Your dot doesn't have to be stabilized in the center of the target, as you guys can see. So again, kind of increase efficiency, increase that speed in which you shoot as well.
Right. One of the other things I think that it gets at as well, Pete and I talked in another video about the pre-ignition push and just doing the right thing and compensating for recoil, but at the wrong time and right as you're pulling the trigger. I think something that a lot of people will do when they are over confirming the sight, they want to get it just right. They're waiting. Then they get really excited when it's there and they want to squeeze really fast, and they squeeze the whole arm and everything, and they impart some motion to the gun that then does send around down or to the left or to the right or something like that.
Absolutely. So when talking about kind of pistol fundamentals for marksmanship, sight alignment, as you guys can see, is probably not that high on the list of priority versus, you know, grip, trigger, control, and things like that as well.
Cool. So give this a try at your own range, like we said, and let us know the results. Also let us know if you're shooting red dot or iron, something like that. So, but yeah, it's a great discovery, if you will, if you haven't tried this yet. And as usual, if you like this video, give it a like and also subscribe to us at Vortex Edge here on YouTube. Check out the Vortex Edge website as well and go see some courses that you can sign up for. Thanks, everybody.